You're listening to The Burning Truth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dude and dudettes. I am your host, Matt Byrne, and don't worry, he is back again. He is none other than my co-host, John Ballore.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Unlike last week, where I decided not to do my finest Michael Cole impersonation. What's that? I've lost my voice one match into a pay-per-view? Nah, I'm just going to fight through. Nope, I decided I couldn't speak, so it wasn't worth trying to inflict that upon you. But I am back in full voice this week, and by the sounds of it, good job, because boy, have we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I know during last week I went through a lot of topics. Unfortunately, we may not be able to touch upon all of them this week because there has been a lot going on.
We will do our best to get through as much of it as we can, but we can't guarantee we'll hit every nail.
Pretty much. What I will state is we do actually have some sad news, some good news, some mixed news, but just to mention some of the topics that we are going to be covering, which is, one of them is going to be a rehash from last week, which is potentially talking about the Bray Wyatt's new gimmick, just to hear John's thoughts, as you already know my thoughts on it. We'll have to discuss some of the controversy in regards to certain comments that have been made on Twitter by a certain WWE wrestler. We've also got to discuss the wild card rule of WWE, and of course discuss some interesting news that involves AEW, and potentially a halt of a match that ended up being kiboshed and pretty much getting rid of from a wrestling show called Stardom, which could have had massive repercussions in regards to it.
Indeed. So we've got plenty to be talking about. And I like the way you were cryptic there and you didn't give away what most of those things were. But first...
Well, actually, before we get onto that, we've got one more, which is we are going to be covering some British wrestling as well.
Ooh, that's always a bonus for a British wrestling podcast.
Correct. However, there was one topic that wasn't in that list, which is going to be the first topic, which is some really...
Do we have to stop the train at Tragedy Station
first
and report some terrible news?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people can say wrestling is how do we say, fake. A lot of people say it's not real. But one thing that a lot of wrestling companies and a lot of wrestlers will state is, regardless of it, you've probably seen it almost every week on WWE TV. You've seen it on. It was almost a hourly advert on WWE TV years back, which was, "Please don't try this at home because the hazards are real. It is dangerous and everything." And unfortunately,
we have had a situation in the last day which has, horribly underlined that.
Which is, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the burning truth is very, very sad to report that a wrestler by the name of Silver King has passed away.
We're very sad to report that. Obviously, our condolences to all of his family and friends. It's never something that we want to report, but unfortunately it has happened. And what makes it worse was it was in the middle of a match.
Mid-match, unfortunately, and a lot of people may not have potentially known who Silver Mask or Silver King was. He did in the past wrestle for WCW, and of course, if I'm not mistaken, he is also one of the gentlemen that was actually in a movie starring...
I believe he was in a movie, starring Jack Black.
Correct.
which was called Nacho Libre.
Yes, so unfortunately, we are going to do a minute silence in regards to this for Silver King due to him passing away. So deepest condolences to Silver King, and we're about to do the
And his family.
Minute silence for Silver King's family, friends, and work colleagues. And that is a minute silence for Silver King.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. And it's never joyous to be giving out news like this. So it is unfortunate.
It's an incredibly somber way to have to start the show, but yeah, it's very unfortunate, but these things happen. So may he rest in peace, and as we said, condolences to his friends and family.
And work colleagues, of course. And so just in case if anybody was just who'd come in halfway through, that we have just done a minute silence just in case, just to explain why there was a bit of a silence as well.
Minute silence for the memory of Silver King, who was just 51, which is far too young.
It's... yeah, definitely. But as we said, we hope nothing but the best, and may he rest in peace. Now,
Indeed.
In regards to this, there's no easy way to change the topic. The show must go on, and we have to
move on. Unfortunately, as clunky as the change will feel, we do have to carry on.
But as we said, condolences to family, friends, and work colleagues.
Indeed.
But anyway, changing subjects to try and, well, basically to change the subject. We're going to be discussing a topic that was covered last week, which was covered by myself. So a lot of people already know my views in regards to this subject, which is to do with Bray Wyatt.
The wonderful Bray Wyatt.
You knew it was coming, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Ever since I first was made aware of the words Firefly Funhouse, I knew we'd have to cover this at some point.
We'd have to. But let me just state this. For this week, because there's that much we are covering, we will not be covering what has been actually going on in regards to actually Raw and also of SmackDown. We will be touching a little bit of topics because we'll have to cover certain things because of the subjects.
Yeah.
But in actual fact,
certain subjects require brief mentions of Raw and SmackDown, but it's not going to be a blow-by-blow account of what's been happening. But I suppose what you're getting to here is you want me to tell you what I think of the reimagined Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what you think of this whole new gimmick.
Well, now, I was an unreserved fan of Bray Wyatt from day one.
Yep.
I think that the original gimmick that he had was the most original thing in WWE in a world where, how can I put this? Far too many WWE people. I don't know if this is going to come across as sounding derogatory. It's not necessarily meant to be, but far too many WWE employees want to look different without daring to actually be different, if that makes sense. You know,
Right.
the very narrow brush stroke of professional wrestler. They want to look different, but they don't venture outside the bounds of that, which is something that Bray Wyatt has made a career out of paying absolutely no heed to.
Correct.
He has literally thought outside the box his entire career, and I am a massive fan of him because of that. And this direction change, I've got to say, I love it. I really, really like it. I think he's the most original thinker in WWE at the moment. Now, I don't know how the company works. I don't know if he's been given an Attitude Era sort of free reign with his character to do as he pleases on the basis that they trust him enough to think outside the box. If they have, they've scored a spectacular touchdowns, goal, field goal, and home run all in one. And if WWE are behind this, then frankly, their creative should be let off the leash to do things like this more often, because it's bloody brilliant. And he sticks out a mile from everyone else and just basically inadvertently shows how flat and two-dimensional everyone else is by just being the best thing on WWE TV at the moment. I don't know how it's going to translate into the in-ring side of things, but as far as promos and build-ups and things like that go, thank you, Bray.
Yes.
Because it's a breath of fresh air.
Yes, and the scary thing about this might be something that Bray Wyatt has developed himself, or it could be something that's been done by the writers. Kudos to whoever come up with the idea, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when he does actually debut. However, one thing that you're mostly going down the same ball, the ballpark that I was mentioning, how original, fresh, and not one-dimensional it is. One thing I actually think personally, and this is my own thoughts, Matt Burns' thoughts, which is, I actually mentioned this last week, is I actually find this gimmick even creepier than his previous one.
Yeah, that's something that I found as well. It's just, it's kind, how can I put it without actually just stating what the gimmick is? Someone like that being a kids' TV presenter, someone with the darkness in his soul that he has portrayed in his previous incarnation, and yet he's a kids' TV presenter. And
it looks like a kids' TV presenter, but at the same time, it's weird because a lot of people think, scary monster, horrid, haggard, and everything, and yet he's cleaned himself up. He looks in much better shape, and he's cutting promos the way he is. It's absolute stroke of genius.
Yeah, because as you said, it's knocking spots off everything else that's happening in WWE right now. It's absolutely 100% original, different, and wonderful.
That it is.
In a weird and ever so slightly creepy kind of way.
That's for sure. That is for sure. But
yeah,
the thing is, the one thing I will say is, when it does actually get to matches, I think it's going to go one or two ways. It's either going to be not work and be horrible, which some people are saying, or it's going to be an absolute knock it out the park, going to be absolutely amazing, and could end up creating an even, dare I say,
a legitimate, even bigger star than he managed to create before.
Correct.
Do you know what? I've got a feeling that as far as the matches go, he's It's going to go one of two ways. I've got a feeling he's not going to just reinvent himself out of the ring that much and then do the same things in the ring. It doesn't strike me as the Bray Wyatt way of doing things.
Yeah.
So I think we might see totally different in-ring action as well. And, well, frankly, I'm excited to see if he can pull it off because it looks potentially, like I said, like a home run.
That it does. But anyway, we need to now move on to different subjects. And unfortunately, we have got to go to the controversial corner.
Controversial corner. There are two parts to that this week. Which one are we going to first?
We are going to go to a current WWE wrestler who has been under fire due to some past comments that have been made on social media.
Ah, yes. Now, I'm not going to mention the name of the website in question, much less what I referred to it as off-air in the pre-show chat. But needless to say, I find this whole story a little bit of a indictment of the state of certain dark corners of the internet more than anything else.
It can be, but at the same time, it is something that a lot of people have to be made aware of, because when you are employing somebody, at the same time, you've also got to have a clear history as well. And unfortunately, one gentleman didn't exactly have a clear history. Yes, even though these statements were removed and deleted, however, the scary thing about it is, and this is a statement that I know some YouTubers, anybody who has probably who does broadcast, anything that is thrown out on the airwaves stays on there, which is why one fact that the Burning Truth does, we try to do our very, very best to make things as clear as possible, which is why we do state we make mistakes, of course, but then also correct them as well, which this gentleman has ended up correcting themselves and stating that it is.
Yeah. If we get things wrong, as he has done, we'll come up and we will fully admit, yes, we said this. It probably wasn't very clever, and it definitely wasn't right. So sorry about that.
We subtracted, we changed this, we do this. If we make a mistake, we understand it. But in this case, in case anybody who doesn't know who we're on about, we are in regards to...
Yeah, for those that aren't in the know, that was kind of a cryptic introduction.
Yes, it was. The gentleman in question is none other than Lars Sullivan, who has been on a massive push. Now, at the moment, we don't know in regards to what is currently going on through WWE's mind. This could end up killing his massive monster push that he's been having lately, which, if I'm not mistaken, he is now an official SmackDown wrestler.
Correct, to the best of my knowledge.
And it's something that is going forward. It's unfortunately, this could actually affect his future with the company, or the company has already been made aware of it and has noticed that he is no longer that person. So in actual fact, they could be okay with it. So
something tells me that a company as thorough as WWE in this day and age will have been made aware from the outset, and that his reassurances that he isn't that person anymore will hopefully be enough.
Correct.
And potentially WWE's next big monster heel won't be derailed by comments that he has distanced himself from and which he's tried to remove. But as we said, that's easier said than done thanks to the internet.
Correct. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe a gentleman under WWE's employment, known as Big E, has even made a bit of a comment in regards to it, stating if this is true, then he is somebody who is basically surrounded. He's outnumbered. He's from from a dinosaur era, and he will find himself almost on a lonely, lonely island, if that is still the case. But from the statement that was released by Lars Sullivan, that appears to be that he was in an absolute error of himself and is very apologetic in the statements, and as such knows that what was stated was very, very incorrect, and that it is not the case any further ongoing and never will be.
Yeah, well, let's face it, everybody makes mistakes. Judging by the comments since the event, Lars has clearly shown that he, even if he maybe hasn't learned from them, and I think he has, that he is willing to. And so I think that moving forward, it should be,
But unfortunately,
yes, they were inappropriate, but they're in the past. So let's move on and let's judge upon his WWE record, not things that happened before.
Possibly, but we can't decide ourselves in regards to when it should stop or when it should end. In regards to this, the only people who can state that are the ones that were massively offended in regards to the comments. And if they did decide to state that they were still offended, then the burning truth holds one. We basically state we 100% understand, and we are in no way stating that we approve of any statements, and that he should be granted leeway in regards to said comments. Yeah. We are just stating some facts.
Yeah, we in no way condone what was said, or in any way suggest that he should be, given a free pass for them. But we're simply stating, they're in his past. He has expressed remorse, and so let's take that at face value.
Let's take it.
Yes, they were horrible. Yes, they were the kind of thing that perhaps he wouldn't say now, but
whether he should be punished or not isn't entirely not up to us either. But just to
absolutely not.
Just to state, if there is more in regards to this, we will hopefully try to bring it up and keep it as.
Well, we'll have to be a bit tiptoey around it, because we'll have to discuss it without actually going into too much detail about what was said, just in case we get ourselves in legal hot water. But I would just state my opinion. This is me, John Bloor, not necessarily the opinion of the Burning Truth or Matt Burns. My opinion. I quite like the Lars Sullivan character, and I sincerely hope that a combination of his contriteness and his apology and his willingness not to go back to that dark place in the future means that on WWE TV, Lars Sullivan character has a future. But if that turns out to be unworkable and not the case, based on what has been dredged up, I can kind of understand.
As well. So, in regards to this, fingers crossed, hopefully there isn't anything further to cover, because this is a topic that it's very hard to talk about, because it is a touchy subject, but it is a subject that will, from time to time, need to be discussed if necessary.
As I said, not to mention, it's very difficult to discuss without actually directly mentioning it, because we need to not directly mention it, because we'll get ourselves in all kinds of hot water. But, we just need to state for the record that the severity of what was said cannot be undermined, even if we can't directly tell you what it was.
Correct.
It's the kind of thing that, should Lars Sullivan's career in WWE come to an acrimonious end, then it should serve as a lesson to others in the future that these are definitely opinions that you shouldn't hold. Let's put it that way.
And that you should always be careful of any statements or anything that you do actually mention, say, or even post.
Anything you put on the internet, as we said, is basically there forever. So,
regardless of whether it be deleted, you are guaranteed that at least somebody will somehow have a copy of it.
And it will dredge its way to the surface right when you least want it to. I mean, it's tough for us to say because this is an opinion-based wrestling podcast, but it seems almost contradictory. But yeah, keep your opinion. It's a bit like the old Jerry the King Lawler quote. Keep your opinions short and sweet because you might have to eat them later.
Or, you know, if you've got, or there's an even nicer one than that. If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say it.
Well, exactly. I mean, I know occasionally here on the Burning Truth we do go into sort of, oh my God, my jaws hit the floor. I can't believe that. That's terrible. That's horrible. That shouldn't have happened. You know, we critique things.
Correct.
But there's a world of difference between, you know, us just saying, in our opinion, this isn't very good, and, you know, saying things that are willfully and obviously designed to intimidate or provoke a reaction, which are just plain wrong. We obviously try not to do that. And whether he meant it or not, Lars Sullivan has crossed the line, but he seems remorseful, so let's see where we go in the future.
Fingers crossed, if we do have to cover this, that we have it on a much lighter note. But anyway, moving on.
I think we've tiptoed around that with enough detail now. Shall we go into the other part of Disappointment Corner for this week?
Right. Now, we'll have to mention in regards to WWE. Now, some people are saying it's a great idea, and some are saying it is a bad idea.
Yes.
Now...
Oh, okay, you're going there. This isn't what I thought you were going to talk about next, but this does need to be mentioned, so we'll go with that.
We thought we'd mention this because it's in regards to more or less of WWE as a whole. A topic that's not involves to WWE, that involves both Raw and SmackDown. But if you're on about one of the other topics, we will be covering that most likely after, as it may segue into other topics.
I see. Anyway. Okay, that's cool. So we'll go with this first. What is the name of it that they've come up with? Did you Free Pass? Did you say?
No. It's called the Wild Card Rule.
Ah. You see, it's a potentially thorny subject. We're going to give you our opinions on the proviso that you understand they are wholly our opinions and they may change in time. This is just a snapshot of what we think right now.
Potentially, and there may be a bit of a soapbox requirement.
That is not out of the question.
Because and some of it I can... Right, basically, the wild card rule is that if you are on Raw, any 3 to 4 SmackDown wrestlers can cross over, but no more. Otherwise, they'll be under severe penalty of some sort. And vice versa.
Is it? So what you're basically saying is it's a proviso that at any given moment, for the sake of a storyline, a certain group of people, which may change with time, can appear on both Raw and SmackDown.
Or singular individuals. Anybody from the opposite side can appear on the grounds that they do not reach the limit or are over it.
Yeah, it seems to me, at first glance, to be something that might be difficult to work and might simply result in quite a lot of unnecessary confusion.
Yes, as you
but I'm prepared to give it the benefit of the doubt and at least let them try.
Yes. Which is the fact that we could potentially have some SmackDown wrestlers on Raw wrestlers on SmackDown, Raw champions on SmackDown, SmackDown champions on Raw, and back and forth. It could
essentially become a situation whereby the same guys appear on both shows every week, and the huge amounts of talent, which barely get enough TV time as it is in WWE's massive main roster talent pool, will be further marginalised.
Which
we here at the Burning Truth sincerely hope that's not the case, but that is the risk that they run with this concept.
Now,
And we just thought we should point out that we have spotted this potential flaw, and we're both saying with our fingers crossed, hoping, please don't do that. That will be very bad for business.
the thing is with this is a yes and no idea, because yes, in the idea, it could be potentially their way of trying to tease that they are actually ending the brand split, which a lot of people were stating, yeah, let's end the brand split. Downside to that is a lot of the mid-card, the wide range of mid-card matches that were on have now just incredibly just dropped down, because you've then got the main event stars from both brands most likely having most of the time on the TV. So,
as we said, this is one of the main arguing points for the continuation of the brand split, is simply put that the depth of the roster WWE have available means that having two entirely separate shows with entirely separate rosters means twice as many people will get TV time. And frankly, that's a good thing, because otherwise WWE is basically paying 2/3 of its roster to sit there backstage twiddling its thumbs going, yeah, when's it our turn? So this is why I've always been fundamentally in favour of the brand split, and why the potential for this to backfire has to be highlighted.
And on top of that... Go on.
I was going to say, but from a positive point of view...
Yes.
The continuation of a couple of storylines at a time across both shows will benefit those involved and will only lead to increased interest. I'm sure that's what WWE are hoping anyway. So
potentially,
let's see how it goes.
It's a potential in the fact that it can actually help heighten certain feuds, point out who they are favouring more as such, and possibly push. Now, the massive issue with this, as we've already stated, this could end up highlighting who WWE are pushing more and more, because who knows, we could almost see Roman Reigns almost every Monday, every on every Raw, every SmackDown, almost all the time.
Could end up like a throwback to the Attitude Era, when the world title picture, the 7 or 8 guys that were in it were, to a large extent, the final hour of both Raw and SmackDown every week, and everyone else had to just fight for the time that was left.
Pretty much, and it could potentially...
Now, don't get me wrong, that led to some scintillating main event level matches, but also led to the undercard a lot of the time feeling decidedly thrown together. It's a situation that WWE has done well to move away from since then, and we don't really want them to go back to it. Honestly, being optimistic wrestling fans.
Yes, which, because of that, has actually caused potentially some conflict, possibly with the mid card, because in regards to this, because there are supposedly certain wrestlers who are unhappy currently, certain people who were considering leaving, but they've had their contract extended due to injuries. We've also got people, a lot of, the thing is, a lot of people, there's people who made statements in regards to it already, and some of them are being very public about it, and some others who aren't.
Yep.
Now, in regards to this, because with the whole wildcard rule, it could potentially mean that more main eventers could potentially be on both shows, which is taking up the main roster. But if they are going to use this wildcard rule very successfully, and this is an idea, why don't they transfer the mid-card wrestlers? Because then that
exactly
more.
Essentially use it as a platform to give more mid-card guys an opportunity on both shows,
and
to potentially elevate them up into the stratosphere of the main event picture and give themselves a deeper main event talent base. Exactly.
Potentially.
I hope that's what they do.
Yes.
I've just had a really massively wild idea that WWE will probably never do, but I've just suddenly thought of a good way to make sure that everyone WWE has gets airtime.
Go on.
WWE has the network, right?
Yeah.
So basically, it doesn't need TV massively. I mean, obviously it does. Raw and SmackDown, it's flagship TV shows.
Yeah.
But in order to make sure that the roster gets its fair share of time on shows and that they spread it evenly, here's an idea. There's 5 days in a week, right? Okay, there's 7, but there's 5 days outside the weekend, yeah?
Yes.
And WWE has 5 main shows.
Unfortunately,
So-
I highly doubt that would be the case.
Well, it has
Yeah.
5 shows. The 2 main ones, Raw and SmackDown, and then 205 Live, Main Event, and NXT.
Well, technically,
Make
6.
every single one of them, well, technically 6, but I was counting NXT UK under the NXT banner.
Fair enough.
Make each one of them a prime time 2-hour show on a different night of the week, extend the brand split, put different guys on each show, and spread the roster evenly across all 5 shows. Basically, have it that, you know, so that have it so that there is a main title and a tag team title on each show. And so that, let's say, for example, the WWE title, the Universal title, are the main titles on Raw and SmackDown. The Intercontinental title becomes the Main Event Championship. The United States title becomes the 205 Live Championship. And obviously the NXT title is the NXT title. That stays where it is.
Possibly, but
Have a tag team championship for each brand.
The problem
And
I
a
have with
women's
this,
title.
the problem they
Yeah.
have with this is then you are then potentially shifting the titles, some of them into more main event status, but then having to also create more titles, which WWE have already got enough titles as it is already. The thing is,
You
with
say
me-
that.
Go on.
You say that.
Yes.
But let's say a tag team title and a singles title on each of those 5 hypothetical all main brands,
And also a women's title. Don't forget.
and also a women's title, yes. For men and women, each of them. So that
Yes.
okay, that's 4 titles per show. But if they're separate entities, then that spreads the WWE roster across all of them. It gives every tag team time shown. It actually once a year when they do the Superstar Shake-Up makes things a lot more interesting because it's not just
Yeah.
Raw to SmackDown, SmackDown to Raw. Oh look, all of NXT's top talent has been purged.
But at the
You know,
but at
they're
the
all
same,
individual brands in their own right, and
Yes.
and it, yeah, like I say, so say for example, you become the main event tag team champions. Let's say that Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder do that as a general. Okay, they're already the Raw tag team champions, but you get my point.
Carry on.
And then become transferred to Raw in the Superstar Shake-Up.
Yeah.
Boom, instant fresh feuds across the board.
Yes, but the problem is they would then be having to create more TV time, which is probably costing them more money, which would then it
Well,
would
no,
be
that's
more,
the thing.
It would be
It would be more original content for the network, which, let's be honest, the network is crying out for.
It is, but at the same time, there's only so much wrestling that they can create, and only so many stories that they can tell, and also and everything. Because eventually, the thing with that is, with your idea, is yes, it does create more TV, more wrestling, but it also burns through ideas a lot more quickly.
Yes, but
Which-
you know where that also leads us? If
More
that
jobs.
idea was implemented, that leads us to a UFC-style scenario whereby every pay-per-view has less matches and a selection of title matches in each pay-per-view, and the titles can be rotated around the pay-per-view so that, let's say, each title is only defended every second or third pay-per-view rather than every single time out. It keeps the titles fresher, it gives them more meaning, and it prevents burnout for the idea of the titles. It keeps them as a prestige thing, as something that, much like the NXT titles with their every 2 months shows, it's like you don't get an opportunity at these very often. So when you get it, you've got to seize it, because it ain't coming around again next month. You have to wait 3 months, if you see what I mean.
I get what you mean. Basically, it makes it seem like as though there's more drive for it, which is
Yeah.
great, which would be interesting and great at the same time. But at the same time, because certain people and certain stories wouldn't be continuous, because they'd be switching between TV shows all the time. Which, yes, it would be continu. At the same time, eventually, knowing WWE, they would only have so much that they'd have. They have only got so many wrestlers, but it could potentially mean that they end up having to find out more wrestlers as such. But it's very interesting in regards to this, because as much as like you said, they've got 5 days a week, almost 5 days of wrestling. I think the fact that they've got main events, which is fine, where it is, which mean, you know, that's the lower card and mid carders getting to be able to shine on them shows. We've got the NXT, which is the development side, but then we've got like Raw and SmackDown, which is the main side. I just feel as though at the moment, with this wildcard rule, it can be used to push certain wrestlers, which WWE are going to be pushing more. But at the same time, are they doing this because of network ratings as well? Because certain networks are demanding bigger ratings by having the bigger stars.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
no, I can completely understand that.
Depending on which show they are on, it could potentially also highlight where they are on the card, on the show card. And when you've got more shows spread out, when Raw and SmackDown are the main networks, which you still have to have a network broadcasting them as well. So essentially, they'd have to find additional networks to broadcast these new shows and everything.
Well, no, that's the thing. I don't necessarily think they would.
They may not.
NXT thrives.
They may
not as a network exclusive. So, nothing says they would have to, as long as the main two are on television.
It does, but then it's a bit of a tough subject. This is. And I think this is possibly...
Yeah, it really is.
I think this is more or less a subject that would be open to interpretation, which is... Both of us got conflicting views on this. Very definitely.
And this is just an idea that I had based on what you've told me about the rule. I'm aware that it's solely my idea, and you may not even agree with it, like I'm feeling initially that I don't agree with this free pass rule.
I don't agree with the idea of the 5 days of shows, which is as much as, yes, it is exclusive, but at the same time, you don't want to be putting way too much wrestling out and burning through all the ideas while also tiring out your audience. You still want to capture your audience with original content, which WWE has been doing, quite frankly, which has been very, very good.
No, I completely understand that, but like I said, just to play devil's advocate here, as I say, they already make these 5 shows a week.
Why
SmackDown
make
is
it more
2 hours,
bigger?
Raw is 3. All they've got to do is add an extra hour each to main event, NXT and 205 Live, feature more people. It wouldn't be perhaps the massive stretch that the suggestion first suggests it might be. But anyway,
at the same time,
that was just an idea.
It's an idea, which is
that I had based on
fine.
the idea of the free pass rule. But for the time being, let's give it time. Let's see how it works and hope that WWE take all the positive elements from it and use it in the way that we have detailed. We hope they do, which is to elevate more top-level stars rather than to cement those that are already there on everything.
You mean basically using it to be able to create bigger stars instead of it being... Yeah, I get what you meant. But
because
at the same time...
I think that's the aim for it, and so I hope that's what happens.
Correct. And if we do end up having to re-bring this topic up, this could be a bit of a special topic that if we do come around again. If anybody's interested in hearing us talk more about this, let us know. And because you probably noticed that both myself and John were actually different ideas in regards to the wild card rule, which is always great
Oh yeah,
for
the
broadcasting.
difference of ideas is healthy. There's no complaint about that. It makes for good listening. And so, yeah, if you have any ideas as well, provided they're sensible and broadcastable, that's important, why not get in touch and let us know yours as well, if you think that it's a good idea or a bad idea as well.
Or if you want us to go further into the topic itself as well, we will do, but it's... Because unfortunately, we've been talking on this for quite a bit of a while. I feel as though we may end up either rehashing or could end up missing certain topics that we need to discuss this week. But because of this...
So what you're basically saying is, shut up, Law, let's move on. Okay, point taken.
We are going to have to move on because, unfortunately, because of this subject, it's reminding me of a other subject that I wanted to ask Blore on. An actual fact.
So now, having said, thanks for your opinion, but that's enough, shut up, you now want my opinion on something else. Ooh, yes. Goody.
Correct. Which
is... Fire away. What is it?
I can see soapbox coming out for this one.
It's on standby. Don't worry.
Because I've already done my soapbox on this topic.
Yes, last week when I was sat there listening going, yes, that's fantastic. Or, oh, I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Which this topic is in regards to Becky Lynch.
If you want to be the man, you have to be on every show and have 2 titles.
Well, apparently. She does. Which is fine.
Yes.
But the topic I was actually discussing, and as much as I was going to bring up Lacey Evans, we're not bringing up that topic again because nope. What I am going to discuss...
I feel until the match happens, we've said all we need to on that. So, okay, what is it that you had in mind to talk about this week?
Oh, no. This is the Lacey Evans one was in regards to a mistake that she did recently on Twitter, unfortunately, but there's no point in bringing that up. I think I covered that enough last week.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, what did you have in mind to talk about this week?
The idea being is the fact that, yes, Becky Lynch is Becky 2 champs. Or 2 belts.
Yep.
The fact that
I think I personally loathe, but yes, okay, she is.
The fact that she's having to defend both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship on the same night against Lacey Evans of Raw and Charlotte Flair of SmackDown. Let's hear your thoughts.
Well, to be honest, both women's titles on a pay-per-view, good.
But she's having to defend it on both of them. Not together in a triple threat.
No, in separate matches, yeah.
Yes.
If it wasn't for the fact they'd probably mistake it for the Cruiserweight Championship, I'd say just give her 1 purple belt that's an amalgamation of both and just make her have triple threat matches all the time against 1 person from Raw and 1 from SmackDown.
Possibly.
No, I'm joking, obviously. I think it's a good thing that both titles are getting defended, although this is an obvious side effect of having 1 person holding both titles. Excuse me.
Yep.
Becky is capable of doing that, and that's absolutely fine, but she's quite, how can I put this? 2 matches a show doubles the risk of something happening that's not good, such as injury.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to do it for very long, to be honest.
Yeah, because she's having to take on 2 top contenders.
Yeah, I have the distinct feeling that, for the sake of the WrestleMania moment and everything, it was all well and good, but will these 2 title defenses be happening next week on Money in the Bank?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We're not doing predictions for Money in the Bank this week. We may next week, I don't know. But nonetheless, prediction for Money in the Bank, I think Becky might lose the blue one.
Possibly, but what annoys
On account
me...
of the fact that WWE seem determined that Charlotte should have as many title reigns as her dad. I think, and that Becky focusing on one title would probably be better for all concerned. And if someone else is going to carry the other one, I can't think of anyone better than Charlotte. I think her probably dropping the blue belt is not a bad thing.
Sorry, no, I have to disagree with you on that one.
Okay, please explain how.
I have to disagree with you on that one because I feel as though, yes, Charlotte Flair is worthy of being the SmackDown's Women's Champion. Not disputing that.
Yeah.
I am not disregarding her ability and what she's capable of doing. Not at all. However, I feel as though, I wouldn't mind, I feel as though with Charlotte Flair, she has been forced down our throats far, far worse than Roman Reigns.
Oh, Charlotte Cena, absolutely. But unfortunately,
I honestly think she's being forced down our throats more than Cena.
The point I'm trying to make, however, yes, I completely agree with you on that point, but the point I'm trying to make is, I think just having Becky focus on one title for a bit might not be such a bad idea, and since her next opponent for the other title is someone she should in no universe be losing to, then if she's going to drop one, it should be the blue one.
Which is fine.
That's just my opinion.
If that was
based
the
on current
whole
events.
case of making Charlotte, a way of making Charlotte champion, or anything, or they wanted Charlotte to be in the top form, why the hell do the whole, winner takes all match? What was the whole point?
Because they booked themselves into a corner, didn't they?
Which is fair enough, but now, they've now done it again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to escape this situation without getting criticism from some corners.
The biggest problem I have with... and this is something I covered last week, is how many championship matches does Charlotte Flair have to be given? Now, as much as they could say, yes, she's sucking up to Vince McMahon and everything and doing all this and doing all that. There's something wrong when Becky Lynch is pointing out that Lacey Evans looks like a damn carbon copy of Charlotte Flair.
Ouch. Indeed. There's no two ways about that. That is... Yeah, that's not good. But,
and
honest,
even make... Oh, wait. I'm finished. And even having Becky Lynch even make accusations that Lacey Evans' mother may have been to Flair country.
Now, that is possibly an accusation that is a step too far. Eek. But, I'm really not sure what WWE are trying to achieve with that. But to be honest, keeping Becky on Raw, facing off against the various women on the Raw side of things, letting Charlotte have the blue title, and frankly, is Charlotte currently, which side of the coin does she reside currently?
SmackDown.
No, I mean, is she a yay or is she a boo kind of person?
Boo.
Oh, okay. Well, that knackers my next plan then.
No, the crowd already hate her. The fact that she's been given
I figured. The downside, well, I was thinking that she was still riding somewhat a wave of being a face, which would be useful because... Actually, no, it would still work. It would still work if she's a heel. They can still do it. Give her the blue title, but send her back to SmackDown and have her face off against everyone's favourite hugger, who, in beating her, can do what she's been teasing for the best part of since WrestleMania. And we'll see how heel Bayley works.
Can't do that because Bayley, I think Bayley already lost the match to Charlotte for Charlotte to become the number one contender. Yeah, there you go.
No, but I'm just thinking down the line in a few months, that sort of thing. Have that build up as part of Bayley.
The problem I've got right now is the fact that Becky is as fresh as anything. She is rejuvenating.
Yeah, I understand, but they've got all this talent underneath her, and they keep going back to Charlotte. I'm with you in that frustration.
Now, they had Asuka.
Yeah.
Who's now moved into the tag division, women's tag division.
Yes.
And on SmackDown, other than Asuka, other than Charlotte, who's worthy?
On SmackDown?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even sure who's on the SmackDown division. Naomi, Bayley, Sasha Banks, if she's on that brand.
Nope.
Okay. I'm struggling to think who else is on the SmackDown side of things, but I'm thinking that's pretty much it at the moment. So what that tells me is push new people, WWE.
Lana?
Make new existing... Lana, well, she's there.
Then you've got...
I wouldn't say she's currently at that level, but hey, this is WWE. If anyone can make her up to that level, it's them.
Then you've got the former Absolution.
Yeah, both of them are not at the massively huge pedestal that they've put Charlotte on yet, but
this is the problem.
That's the thing. Can be put there. It will just take time.
But
that because of booking themselves into a corner, WWE don't appear to want to give themselves.
This is the problem that they've got. They've now it's either Charlotte or Charlotte or Charlotte or Charlotte or. Do I need to repeat that again?
Yeah, I don't think the viewers in the nosebleed seats at the back could hear that. Just do you want to say it one more time?
Charlotte.
I understand what you're saying, and it is immensely frustrating, and it will be interesting for which read borderline car crash TV to see how they book their way out of this. But, well, they've got to do it one way or another, because Becky, my point originally stands, Becky can't hold both titles for too much longer, because that will just burn her out, and that will just render another top-level star,
Pretty
not
much.
top anymore, because she'll need time away. So they need to do something else there as well. So they need to fix it, and they need to fix it quick. Charlotte isn't the answer, which means shy of perhaps Bayley, who you've already said they've sacrificed to Charlotte, so that ruins that. I can't think of who else there is, to be honest.
Carmella?
Possibly. Former champ? Yeah.
Yep.
Possibly.
Asuka? But already doing other stuff. But that's the point.
Yep.
That's the point. Right now, as much as Charlotte is great, she can only
There's
be
nobody
on top.
up there with her. She's only as great as the opposition that they feed her, and it's kind of like 1980s Hulk Hogan kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the immortal Hulk Hogan, but does some of that shine rub off if he's facing King Kong Bundy?
232, 540, 800 million times.
Yeah, exactly. It is a little bit self-defeating. I completely understand what you're saying there.
And it's to a point where the fans are either it's either going to, by having Charlotte keep facing Becky Lynch, it's either going to come to the fans going, they're going to keep doing it until she's got the title.
Yeah.
Which is predictable. Or if she keeps losing, how can fans actually believe her be worthy of?
No, exactly. It's going to end up being very similar to the situation they had with the men about 7 or 8 years ago.
Which then, on top of that...
which I remember lambasting at the time, which led to, what was it, 7,825 pay-per-view main event matches between John Cena and Randy Orton. it's not something that they want to go back to. It really isn't that level of just mindless repetition.
And on top of that, by doing that with Charlotte at the same time,
is that actually damaging her more than it is benefiting her in the long run?
You're not just damaging her; you are also damaging that division as well.
The entire division, yeah, I completely agree.
If the division can't beat her,
well, then she's the default champion forever, which is entirely counterproductive.
Correct.
I agree. It's a bad situation they've got themselves in. Let's see how they extricate themselves from it. It's a big word for a Sunday night.
It is. We'll have to see how that ventures forward. But anyway,
indeed.
Moving on. That. What is everybody's view on two companies against each other?
My initial reaction to that is adopts terrible Vince McMahon voice in his head, which he will not repeat out loud. I want competition, damn it. Right. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Now, when I mention this might shock people. How does AEW versus WWE sound to you?
Now, here we go. Here's a controversial opinion. Terrible.
You think?
And would you like to know why?
Go on.
Because it's 5 years too early. AEW is a nothing. A company that's done one show, that has no reputation, no background, no value as an opponent to WWE.
Need to stop you there. They haven't done a show yet.
Oh, they haven't done a single show yet. Okay, even worse. My point being, come back in 2023 when AEW have lit up the wrestling world, put on 5-star show after 5-star show across America, started to take a genuine portion of WWE's fan base and can actually be considered a serious rival for them. Do AEW versus WWE then. Now, as a promotion that exists on paper only, that hasn't even done a show, very silly to fight with them. It's kind of like an FA Cup third round tie pitting Manchester City against Frome Town.
Right.
Average attendance 53 of the Auto Parts League Division 9. You get my point? It's one-sided beyond belief, and it's actually counterproductive at the moment.
Well, anyway, before John promptly jumped onto the soapbox, I wasn't.
Yeah, sorry about that. I told you it was on standby.
I wasn't referring to a pay-per-view as in where it's actually AEW versus WWE. We are just talking about a single match involving two wrestlers, one from each, against each other on a third-party event, as in show.
I see. In that instance, then, why even highlight the combat side of things? Okay, I think I know who you're referring to, and we'll mention it in a minute, but one of them is inexplicably a WWE superstar. They've got the big shiny piece of leather and gold to prove it.
Yes.
The other one isn't a superstar for the other company yet because they haven't put on a show. So, play it down. Play it down. Just have the match as a match and don't highlight the fact that it's, look, it's them versus them. No, just let them have a match and let it be good
However, the match wasn't highlighted as that. Unfortunately, the internet did that.
The accursed internet. And it's not happy ruining Lars Sullivan's career. Honestly, what are they like?
But anyway, now a lot of fans were looking forward to a match that involved a AEW contracted wrestler against a WWE contracted wrestler. Now, in case
let's put people out of their misery here. This match was to take place in Japan for the Stardom promotion, and
Correct.
featured NXT UK Women's Champion Toni Storm
versus AEW and also, I believe, World of Sport wrestler Bea Priestley.
Although, to be honest, she's the only woman left in World of Sport now, so that doesn't really mean anything. But yes.
Correct. You could potentially
Yeah.
say that, but we'll get onto that
Since
subject
Kaylee Ray and
shortly.
Piper Niven turned up in NXT UK, you could say that. But anyway, the point is, it was going to be a great match. Toni Storm versus... My mind's gone blank.
Bea Priestley.
Bea Priestley. I wanted to say Viper then, but I knew that wasn't right. Bea Priestley would have been a great match in its own right. There was no need to hype it up. But because someone on the internet decided to... Oh, look, WWE have got cold feet and decided to stamp them repeatedly on the ground.
Now, the reason why they stamped this, possibly, is because with NXT UK, they are actually allowed to have some independent bookings separately. And
Yeah,
what they
WWE
are
has a separate level of contract. I think it's called like B level for what they call non-essential people, like guys like NXT UK who do maybe one or two shows a month, who are allowed to continue to make a living outside of WWE the rest of the time.
as well. But the interesting thing about it is the fact that when they've actually got this development underway, it's suddenly, or as soon as you've caught wind of it, caught it, they've gone, and could they have Bea Priestley try to whisper in Toni Storm's ear, try to get her to leave, try to do something. And instead, WWE have put the kibosh on it and stated that Toni Storm cannot do this. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, that's typical WWE, and, you know, blah, 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 we're upset. Now, a lot of people don't realise straight away, now, in regards to this, Toni Storm and Bea Priestley could still end up having a match on that show, but not against each other. But at the same time, it could also at the same time mean that both of them have just lost a payday.
Yeah, essentially, WWE have, as I said before, with regards to the WWE versus AEW thing, at this particular point in time, with AEW being what it is, namely a company that hasn't even had a show, it's a non-event. Just let them have the match. It doesn't matter.
True, just let them have match. But the problem is, by WWE doing this, this could actually strengthen AEW.
Yeah, it probably will. I don't know if, in a perverse Vince McMahon kind of way, that's what he wants, because he craves competition, and he actually wants to get someone up there and competing with them sooner. Who knows how his mind works, but that could be an outcome, and I think they should have just let the match happen.
It should have been, because then that could have been, but then at the same time, it would make whoever lost the match look poorly in regards to it.
Well, there is that. But the thing is, it's a match that's happening outside of the WWE universe, and therefore they don't have to publicise it.
Correct. But
That is not it's very much not their job to publicise it. It's Stardom's job, and they should have just left it well alone. But
true.
It's just my opinion.
True.
For what it's worth.
You're just saying, aren't you? But anyway.
I do that quite a lot, yes.
That aside, the funny thing about it is, by doing this has basically caused a bit of a bit more interest, because straight away AEW could turn around and say, well, we wanted the match, but WWE are too scared, and as such. But nice that you actually mentioned Viper.
Piper Niven. Yes.
I know, Piper Niven. But all I'll say is this. Take into account that WWE have literally jumped onto World of Sport and bought out more of their wrestlers from World of Sport.
Yeah.
Now, why would I be
the
mentioning
rumor that
World
I've
of
heard?
Sport?
The rumour that I've heard about Robbie X appearing on 205 Live soon may be wide of the mark on account of the fact I've just made it up, but wouldn't it be nice?
Possibly. But we all know that World of Sport is owned by ITV.
Yes. Now, after the initial run of television shows from World of Sport, a lot of people questioned, well, was that it? That was slightly underwhelming. There probably won't be any more, will there? And recent events have thrown that further into question.
Well, actually, it hasn't, because World of Sport is actually being aired across the world now. It's being aired in other countries, and we're basically waiting for we're actually currently waiting for the feedback in regards to the interest in regards to that. So we'll have to wait on regards to that if it keeps to continue pushing on forward.
My apologies for being ruinously ill, but hey, you should have heard me last week. I'm 1,000 times better now.
Correct.
Anyway,
we'll have to wait and see how that develops in regards to
where World of Sport goes in the future. However, the point being, the concept is owned by ITV, who possibly be furthering their pro wrestling interests.
Yes. Now,
join the dots, people at home. Can you see where we're going with this?
Now, ITV have just recently acquired the viewing rights for their ITV box office,
which is their equivalent of Sky Box Office, which is the place where WWE pay-per-views are shown. This is ITV's equivalent of it. It's largely used currently for boxing events. However, as you said, a major and very definitely not boxing event will soon be appearing on said platform. Hint, it's also not World of Sport.
Correct. So, I wonder what company that would be. Oh, it is.
It has 3 letters in it.
Yes, which is
and yes,
have
2 of them
mentioned.
are W and E, but the third one isn't another W.
It's an A, which, as we've already stated, what company have we been mentioning throughout this episode recently? Oh, that would be AEW, who have got their...
ECW. Oh, no, sorry.
No.
My mistake.
AEW, which have got their Double or Nothing pay-per-view on ITV box office.
Well, they were talking about getting big media outlets to cover it, and clearly weren't kidding.
They weren't kidding at all. And the interesting thing about this, a lot of people are saying, wow, that where the hell that come from? Now, this could potentially be ITV's way of getting one back at WWE, especially seeing as almost as soon as they've done a World of Sport event, somehow certain wrestlers of World of Sport suddenly get hired by WWE.
Can I just mention the delicious thought that's just crossed my mind about where this is going? Namely, AEW roster intermingling on next series of World of Sport.
That is a possibility.
And vice versa.
So potentially, in a shock twist, could we potentially see Kenny Omega on World of Sport?
And Crater on AEW?
Huh?
I, for one, am in favour of both of those things massively.
Straight away, it's shocking. And the interesting thing about it is, not only is the pay-per-view on ITV box office, that the pre-show will be on ITV4 Live.
Which is available to anyone with a television and Freeview. So, massive potential audience there.
Straight away.
I've just had a tantalisingly non-PG vision of the future.
That's what I mean. The scary thing about it is, ITV have already got the family-friendly side of wrestling with World of Sport, and the alternative with AEW. Could this be...
I've just had a tantalisingly non-family-friendly vision of the future.
Go on.
# Jimmy Havoc as World of Sport champion. Tell me you wouldn't pay to see that.
It would be very, very interesting to see either way. But anyway, the point
because lest we forget, the Master of Havoc is an AEW contracted wrestler because, of course, they are very much not going for the same TV PG audience as WWE, and therefore Mr. Havoc is suitable for their product far more than he is for the WWE.
Correct. And the interesting thing about it is, straight away, could this be ITV's backlash, fire back at WWE for saying, "Oh, because you've been doing the way you're doing business, we'll do this business." And on top of that, because of certain
could
business,
well be.
Also on top of that, WWE have also just lost a worker that they were interested in.
They've actually been outbid by someone.
They actually lost the ability to acquire a wrestler. There's a new wrestler on AEW. Correction. There's actually two wrestlers I can mention right now. One of them being Jack Evans.
I was going to say we've done far too much beating about the bush this episode, so just say, who is it that WWE have lost out on?
One is Jack Evans. The other one is I apologise if I mispronounce his name, as he is a Lucha Underground superstar.
Okay.
I believe
give it your best shot.
Angelico?
To the best of my knowledge, him being Mexican, which means that's a Spanish name, I think that's about as close as you're going to get, yes?
Yes. He is someone who WWE were interested in previously before his contract was actually up with Lucha Underground previously. However, they missed out on him. There was a bit of a bidding war, and unfortunately, WWE decided to allow AEW to acquire his services instead of going into a bidding war for him, because they feel as though that if they did, AEW could end up jacking up the price way above what WWE wants to pay.
Fair enough. And on that front, on the front of having someone there who simply won't allow WWE to just hoover up any and all independent talent that they please because there's an alternative for them, in the medium to long run, AEW can only be a good thing.
And also, AEW has just also acquired a trainer.
As in someone to do the backstage training and the preparation. Now, the first name that sprung to my mind, I don't know. I was going to give it a complete guess. The first name that sprung to my mind was a former Progress Wrestling Atlas champion and recent retiree from the ring and British wrestling legend.
Nope.
It's not Doug Williams, is it?
No.
Okay. Who is it?
This gentleman has wrestled for ECW. He has also wrestled for WWE as well.
I'm just trying to think who that might be.
Because
the number of marquee names from ECW who have wrestled for WWE and are still capable of doing anything in that form is diminishing by the day.
He has also wrestled
Not Bubba
in
Ray Dudley,
ROH. He is Jerry Lynn.
Cool. Oh, good for AEW.
Straight away. But anyway, we are digressing and we are getting quite later on.
We are indeed.
But I believe, in the interest of all this, AEW, as much as they haven't got a show, they are proving that they are able to make as much noise as possible and grab attention.
They're proving that they're serious about this and serious about being long-term and developing themselves into a credible rival for WWE, even if it isn't going to happen overnight. And for that, they must be applauded.
Correct. But anyway, that is all for American wrestling. But
before we wrap up tonight, little things have happened on this side of the pond that must be discussed.
Well, actually, before we get over to American wrestling, one piece of news I will state that I thought was a bit interesting, but I'm not going to cover it as much because I haven't watched the product as much as I would want to, and unfortunately can't discuss it as much, which is to do with Impact Wrestling.
Ah, okay. Okay. Just before you mention that, by the way, if you'd like to get in touch and tell me that I'm wrong between now and next week, please do. But soapbox alert for AEW.
Yeah?
I've seen Cody Rhodes' promo, and I don't get what all the fuss is about. It's really nothing special.
Fair enough. Everyone.
Personal opinion of me, Mr. John Bloor. As I said, if you feel differently and you want to get in touch to tell me why it's a masterpiece of building up a match on a show, please do. But in my opinion, it's sorely obvious that a WWE script editor wasn't there to trim out all the chaff and just have him cut down to the bits that actually matter.
Right. Anyway,
moving on.
Back
You
on.
were going to talk about Impact Wrestling.
they just recently acquired a wrestler a former Impact champion, a former WWE champion.
Hang on. They've reacquired a former Impact Wrestling star
Yes.
who's also been in WWE.
Yes.
Mm.
And has also been a former WWE champion as well.
I'm just thinking that means every WWE title, including the purple one. So, is it Rich Swann?
No.
Okay, that was my first guess.
When I
can't
said
think of anyone
WWE
else.
champion, I actually mean actual WWE champion.
You don't mean has won a title in WWE. You mean has been your actual, currently held by Mr. Kofi Kingston, the
Correct.
WWE Championship. Wow, okay, that's quite a lot bigger than Rich Swann. No offense.
Yes.
Okay, go on, who is it? Put me out of my misery.
He is none other than, how do I say this? He dubbed himself the whole effing show.
Wow.
Rob Van Dam.
To give him his full title, Mr. Robert Van Daminator.
Mr. RVD,
Nice.
who has recently come back, and unfortunately I haven't been able to really watch the product as much, but he has returned
Neither have
to
I,
Impact
'cause I've-
Wrestling.
Gotta be honest, in light of WWE and UK Wrestling and Ring of Honor and all the noise AEW is making, you'd forgive me, I'm sure, for kind of forgetting that Impact Wrestling exists.
Not to worry. But anyway, that aside, we'll now move on to British wrestling, and this is mostly involved. The next topic is just going to be involving myself, which is I actually attended Wolfram Pro Wrestling last night for their second anniversary
cool.
show, which I will state absolutely knocked it out the park. Absolutely stellar show. I'm not going to be even mentioning the results of it. If anybody is interested in finding out the results, please check out their social media. Please check them out. And as we always stated, I know Wolfram Pro Wrestling isn't exactly local to myself personally, but we always keep stating almost every week, please always check out your local shows.
Yeah. And with that in mind, I would like to say I've also recently checked out a local show to me. On that, I've actually practiced what I preached. Again, I won't be mentioning results. You can check their social media if you wish to do that. But if you are, like me, in the Norfolk area, I recently attended a Falling Star Wrestling show, which was spectacular.
Exactly. So it's always good to check out your local shows, but I just thought to just give them a massive shout out to Wolfram Pro Wrestling. Congratulations.
As I would like to Falling Star. Congratulations to both teams on putting on stellar shows and underlining why we say every week, check out and support your local wrestling, because there's something there wherever you are in the country.
Correct. And another reason why I wanted to give Wolfram Pro Wrestling a bit of a shout out, with it being their second anniversary show, I've actually been in attendance for when they did their very first show, and I can also say they have actually built it from strength to strength, from that very first show to its current product as of right now.
Oh, well, that's pretty damn cool. That's good. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Well done to them.
congratulations. But anyway, with that being said, we have now got to go on to it's a bit of a self topic again on my own. More likely talking about my own brand a little bit.
Kyle, nobody wants to hear you talk about your farts. Sorry, we're talking about wrestling here. Okay.
Kyle, leave my cousin out of this again. I'm Matt, remember?
Yeah.
Did someone drop you on your head?
I don't. No, but it is full of enough cold and flu medication that it feels like I have been. So maybe that's what it is.
Right.
Oi, you in the background, cousin Kyle, go away. Stop distracting me. I'm trying to talk to Matt Burns.
Anyway, back onto the subject.
You know what it is, don't you? It's because I'm watching NXT, and Kyle O'Reilly is on the television screen.
And you've got
and
Kyle.
Like I said, because I'm full of cold and flu medication, it's just he's on the TV, so I thought I was talking to him. Sorry. Let's move on.
That's fine. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? We need to discuss UKWA as I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in. Is it 12 days' time?
12 days' time.
12 days' time.
Very possibly. Will be.
Yes.
The second show.
For UKWA, which is Sugar Rush.
Yep.
And I can also say 25th of May, we've already got 3 matches announced as of yet. And I can also say I couldn't be more prouder to get them announced. But just to state...
Plenty more to come.
Yes, I know a lot of people might be stating, yeah, it should be 4 now because it's Sunday. Just to state, UKWA decided to have a bit of a day off with making an announcement, with it being Sunday, as some people do actually like to have a rest day.
Yes. Well, come on, you've got to have time to enjoy the Burning Truth podcast. I mean, come on, you can't do anything else on the day after you've done that, can you?
Exactly. But then again, with myself, when am I not dealing with wrestling?
I don't know about what you dream about, because I was going to say when you sleep, but potentially you still are even then.
Even then.
Wow.
I'm pretty much eat, sleep, dreaming about wrestling non-stop. And it's almost it is. And, when, I must have been wicked, previously, because there is the old saying, there's no rest for the wicked.
Right, you are. I had to try my very best not to call you Adam then, because Adam Cole is now on my television screen, and you know what my brain's like today. Sorry about that. We need to wrap this up before I accidentally start calling you Johnny or something, because Mr. Johnny Triple Crown is on my TV screen.
Did you miss something then from Adam?
Did I miss something?
Yeah, you missed your surname.
Yes, very deliberately.
You missed your surname.
Because it's... What? No, I'm fairly sure I said Adam Cole.
Oh, did you say Adam Cole?
Yes.
You missed something off.
Like I said, yeah, on purpose.
Baby.
Stop it.
It's got to be done.
No, it hasn't. The sooner it dies, the better for everyone concerned.
Anyway.
Just if there were 2 things I could strike from the history of wrestling, it would be the crowd repeating what the ring announcer says every time he says how many falls the match will consist of, and people using that nickname.
What, baby?
Stop it.
That's what it's going to be eventually. It's going to be, baby, stop it!
Yes, I'm glad I amuse you in my own special way. Decidedly not Adam. But definitely Matt.
Let's just state, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and it's great that we do actually have conflicting opinions. But anyway, back onto
Absolutely.
Sugar Rush.
But yeah, Sugar Rush. This is what we were trying to talk about. Let's not get distracted any further. I'm going to put my TV on standby, so I'm not looking at anybody whose name I can accidentally call you,
But anyway,
Mr. Matt Burns.
in regard to the 3 matches, I can also say I am absolutely looking forward to all 3 of the ones that have been announced. We will be continuing to announce more during out the next week, and there could be potentially more interest in regards to this. But if anybody is interested in purchasing tickets for the event and attending, they can actually purchase some advanced tickets at www.ukwrestlingalliance.com.
Lovely.
And if I'm not
Please
mistaken,
go ahead and do that, because you will not regret it.
well, the 4 matches that we have actually currently got underway, which is we've got like our Fatal 4-Way, which is straight away we've got like a massive Fatal 4-Way, which has got some absolute stellar wrestlers on it who I can honestly verify, and we've had previously on our shows as well. Which straight away I'll actually cover them now, which is Kieran McQueen, who has been previously on us, and we've also got some new faces as well. We've also got Crimson Cage, who wasn't on the previous show, and we've also got Stephen Keane, who was also on who was not on the previous show. However, there was one person who didn't wrestle for UKWA, but did make an appearance at the last show, which was Jay Shalley, as he is a member of Anarchy.
Aha! There you go. I was getting very scared. I thought you were going to mention someone else then.
You thought I was going to mention somebody else?
Yeah. Well, I didn't wrestle at the last show, but I was there. I was commentating. I thought you were going to say me for a second then.
Well, I
was petrified that you'd put me in a match. Please don't.
Not to worry. I would not be putting the voice of UKWA on in a match.
Yeah. I was going to say, the voice is the voice. The voice can stay that way. Just talking about it, not doing it. Thanks all the same.
Correct. And, of course, we've also got another match, which is one-on-one with Gerard Gorwick taking on Tommy Hayden.
Now that, given the little that I know about each of those guys, will be a fantastic match.
It will be, because if you want a bit of a history on it, it's actually been posted on our social media, which is stated that Gerard Gorwick is another member of Anarchy.
Yep.
Now, we've taken on Tommy Hayden. Now, Tommy Hayden may already know some of Anarchy's tactics. And why would he know that? I
was going to make a stupid guess then.
He is not a former member. However,
I'm guessing, therefore, has been on the receiving end of some of their shenanigans.
Nope. Not at all. He is a former tag team with AJ Hughes.
Aha. Who is currently also a member of Anarchy. In fact, he's the leader.
Who is the main member who got Anarchy onto the UKWA roster. Now,
there you go.
Could this match potentially put AJ Hughes in his own version of Anarchy? Because he'll have to decide on who he's going to possibly support.
This has potentially interesting ramifications. On top of the fact it's going to be a great match.
Correct. But anyway, we digress.
Right, that's 2 matches. There's at least one more that's been officially announced.
Correct, which is involving 2 wrestlers you actually saw at the previous show. One of them in a match, and the other one interrupting the same match.
Yeah. Now, it's not often I say this when one of the people involved is a £275 monster, but I don't like said £275 monster's chances.
Well, we have got the bad girl, Chantal Jordan, versus.
Yeah.
And how do I actually give him a nickname? You know what? This man he's almost like he calls himself a teacher, if I'm not mistaken, from his recent statement that he made towards Chantal Jordan, in his actions, which if anybody is interested in seeing that statement, we've actually got it on the UKWA YouTube page, as it's being actually shared out to all the social media, and that would be none other than Henry T. Grod.
Oh, I would just like to point out, by the way, if you'd like to know why this match is taking place, subscribe to Turnbuckle TV now and watch UKWA's debut show, 0 Hour, to find out.
Correct. Or if anybody
You're welcome,
wants...
Turnbuckle TV.
You're welcome.
For the shameless free plug.
As always. Or if anybody wants to see a quick snippet, they can possibly either check out on Grod's social media, because he has been quite pleased with himself in trying to teach Chantal a different way.
I see. Well, as I said earlier, it's not often you say this about someone the size of Grod, but when she's actually paying attention and he's not blindsiding her, I don't like his chances, especially bearing in mind how angry he's going to be in light of what happened last month.
You mean how angry Chantal's going to be?
How angry she's going to be, yes, I did say that, didn't I?
But let's just state this. The difference is Grod is no small person. He is not small.
No, this is what I'm saying. He's not a small guy, so it seems odd to say it, but I don't care how big you are. Against an angry Chantal Jordan, you need to watch your back.
But could he be
That
prepared?
is the point I'm trying to make.
Could he be prepared? We'll have to see. But anyway...
Well, bearing in mind what he was willing to do last show, I would imagine so. But, hey, if you want to find out...
We'll have to check it out. But
come
anyway...
watch UKWA Sugar Rush.
Correct. But let me just go back to the Fatal 4-Way, because I felt as though we didn't touch on that topic as much, but I feel as though I want to mention it right now. Straight away, we've got this Kieran McQueen, who is actually in his second match of 2 UKWA shows, and he's in another Fatal 4-Way. Now, a lot of people are stating, could history repeat itself? Could he end up losing the match? You know, could he be the one taking the fall? Could he end up being taken out, not even being involved in the fall? Could he end up learning from his past mistakes? We don't know, but we definitely know that Kieran McQueen does actually have prior knowledge of Stephen Keane, who Stephen Keane himself has actually stated on the record to UKWA management that I'll actually state that he actually demanded to be on the show. Now,
a potentially tricky statement to make and path to take, but it seems to have paid dividends for him.
It is, because I will say, as much as a lot of people can say demanding doesn't always get what you want, here at UKWA we do believe that if he has made he has acquired our attention, and he stated he even actually stated to us, put me in a match against anyone, any match, or even if I have to take on 1, 2, or 3. Now, with him saying that, we saw an opportunity to put him in that Fatal 4-Way, and thought to myself, you want to declare you are that good? Then let's see you prove it.
Prove it. Yeah, exactly.
So, will he be able to step up and show us how good he really thinks he is? Or could something else happen? only time will tell.
Well, that's the beauty of the situation. In a fatal four-way, anything can potentially happen, and usually does.
Correct. Now,
So
you've
you're
probably
quite right.
noticed,
Only time will tell.
You've probably noticed that I actually missed the middle two of that were revealed on the match graphic, which was Crimson Cage
Yeah, you
and
did.
Jay Shelley.
Aha, there you go. I was wondering why you hadn't mentioned them, but I'm sure you will tell us why
The reason being,
right about now.
The reason being that, yes, Jay Shelley was at the last show with AJ Hughes and actually has some knowledge of the, the groundwork and everything, where, he could possibly use the fact that he's already been in a UKWA ring to his little bit of advantage. Crimson Cage is making his debut, but he is absolutely no stranger to Jay Shelley at all. Because if I'm not mistaken, he has actually been feuding with Jay Shelley in other companies and has had some victories against Anarchy. If I'm not mistaken,
And
Crimson
therefore,
Cage,
one element of this match will be the continuation of that rivalry, which makes it, well, even more must-see.
definitely. So, as I stated, the Fatal 4-Way is going to be one that everyone's going to want to see, of course. But with that, I will just state the 3 matches that we have announced, but there are more matches coming during next week. And
Announcements will come between now and show date, so keep your eyes peeled on UKWA social media.
Of course, and at any time, potentially, there could be even promo videos going out at any time. And I do mean any time.
Literally at any time, day or night. Because don't forget, they might even go out while Matt Burns is asleep, because he eats, sleeps, and dreams wrestling, folks.
That I do. But anyway, as much as I could be talking about UKWA all night, and could be... I don't want to, sort of take away and, flood too much of you with UKWA. Yeah. But I will state thank you very much for listening to me mentioning about UKWA Sugar Rush, which, if I'm not mistaken, we've even got a special guest on there.
Ooh, we have indeed.
Who is coming from America, which, yes, we have mentioned this before. We've got, someone who has wrestled at Impact Wrestling, has wrestled at Shakira Pro and many other wrestling companies from around the world. He is none other than Sugar Dunkerton.
Sugar Dunkerton.
Now,
impressive. So, to find out what his direct role will be at UKWA Sugar Rush, as we said, keep your eyes on social media, because, well, it's going to be revealed before the show.
It will be revealed, but we'll have to find out.
Indeed.
But anyway,
if that's not reason enough to subscribe to all of UKWA's social media, I don't know what is.
Or if necessary, just to check out, the Burning Truth, because I believe we'll be keeping up to date with in regards to that.
And don't forget, if you can't make it to the show for whatever reason, shortly after the event, it will be available on Turnbuckle TV. So please subscribe to them.
Correct.
Not only to watch that show when it is on the network, but to catch up with 0 Hour, the debut UKWA show.
Correct. And if anybody wants to do that through the cheeky link for UKWA, we will be eternally grateful in regards to that as well.
Indeed.
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, next week's, with that is going to be a wrap-up for the main topics for this week. Some topics that we're going to be discussing next week, one of them being, most likely, WWE Money in the Bank.
Yeah, we've got to talk about that, the situation that we find ourselves in with that, or the situation WWE finds itself in, and indeed, I think we might even try and attempt some predictions.
Potentially as well, and we could be discussing more UKWA as well. As next week would more likely be the last... Oh, actually, I do apologise in regards to this, to do with next week. Yes, we will be discussing it next week. It could be the last time that we are able to discuss about Sugar Rush, But just to state, next week's episode could potentially be a pre-recorded episode, as unfortunately I might be actually busy at another wrestling event. Just to mention, as I will be making a attendance to Venom Pro Wrestling.
Ooh.
Well,
Matt Burns, ladies and gentlemen, eats, sleeps, breathes wrestling.
Correct. Which will correction, Venom Wrestling Federation. So please check them out as well. Which, if I'm not mistaken, they are based in Stourbridge.
Wonderful stuff. Right, I think covered everything we were going to talk about this week. We've mentioned what next week will be about. So is it time for you to do some plugs?
Correct. I will get through these as quickly as possible, which I will just get onto it right now, which is, of course, please, as always, check out UKWA, also known as UK Wrestling Alliance. Please check out UKWM, also known as UK Wrestling Media, to do absolutely fantastic photography work and also do a great filming crew as well. Of course, please also check out Manchester Pro Wrestling Academy, because the beginner classes are officially on Monday, £10 per class, which is 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. Please check out. If anybody's after directions, please find them out on their social media, of course, most likely on Facebook. Please check out JG Printing and Stitching, do absolutely fantastic work. Please check out charities like Mind and, of course, Changes UK for Health and Wellbeing. And please check out Team 4-Star, especially with their Dragon Ball Z Bridge series. Please check out bands like The New Breed and, of course, Kamens as well, and I believe Blackpool, which is, that band is absolutely fantastic. All three of them are absolutely fantastic, so definitely want to check it out. And, of course, as always, I have to fit it in almost every time we are on the broadcast, which is, of course, Botchamania and WrestleCrap. You're welcome, Matthew.
Oh, sorry, that's me, isn't it? You're so welcome, RD. If you like to look at the lighter side of pro wrestling, then, you need to look no further.
Well, the thing is, we've also got another one to add on to there, which I actually added in last week, which is also known as OSW Review. Good Lord,
cool.
That is absolutely hysterical. And if you haven't watched an episode, you've got a lot to catch up on. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that someone from the maker of Botchamania also makes guest appearances on there as well from time to time. And I can also say
all the more reason to get involved to check that out.
Absolutely entertaining. Of course, please check out Phil DeFranco, who always brings some interesting news on YouTube. Please check out When Fandom Strikes on YouTube, because it's a great singing voice. And of course, check out her on TikTok, because she's always bringing out some great funny content on there. Of course, please check out Luke Moto, who's still been doing his vlogs as always. And of course, a podcast of sorts, which has been speaking all superheroes, Marvels, and all geeky stuff, which is, please check out Geek of the Week podcast, which, if I'm not mistaken, we have a gentleman on there that we both know, which is none other than Magic Mark Adams.
Legendary Magic Mark Adams, and trust me, he'll have lots to talk about in this coming weeks, what with the recent release of that big film, the one with the comic book people in it.
Endgame, but let's just state this, even though it has been a few weeks, even though some people might say we could talk the spoilers, I am still not
# no spoilers here.
No spoilers here whatsoever. And of course, please check out Kayfabe Music UK if you have some custom made music as well, which I can also say I've had to check them out on some of them, absolutely fantastic. And of course, please check out Turnbuckle TV, which is an absolute great subscription deal on there, because you get a whole bunch of content on there to be able to watch all sorts of wrestling. I highly recommend it, especially with UK.
I think it's fairly safe to say it is a treasure trove of UK wrestling. Correct. Including but not limited to UKWA.
If I'm not mistaken, they've also got, straight away, they've also got, United Wrestling on there, and many, many others, like Wrestling in Hinckley, Full Force Wrestling. There's that much, it's almost getting content out of the ears. It's that much. Yeah. But as always, we always state this, as always, please, 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 always check out your local wrestling shows, just for some examples, UKWA, United Wrestling, Academy Pro Wrestling, Future Championship Wrestling, Fusion Pro Wrestling for You, and many, many more.
To which I would just like to add Progress Wrestling, Future Shock Wrestling, Falling Star Wrestling, and many more again.
Correct. And just to also add on, please check out our website, which is www.theburningtruthuk.com, where it could be potentially where you're listening to us live, could be listening to past broadcasts, past interviews, could be where you could be even reading some past show reviews that were written or even audio. But let me just state this, they are currently on hold, so that at the moment in time, because due to the massively busy schedule. And of course, you can also get some snazzy merchandise like some great shirts and office mugs on there. We've also got a contact page if you want to get in touch with us directly on there. But you've also got the social media, of course. But we've also got the links page on there, which some of the actual stuff that we've already discussed on this broadcast will be actually linked on there. But let us just state this for a fact: we cannot be held responsible for any external website links at all, as we are not in control of the external websites.
Indeed.
And of course, please check out our social media, just for some examples: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. But the Twitter handle is a little bit different. I'll spell out the Twitter handle for you, which is WRESLING4THWALL. And of course, if you want to check out some past old episodes of The Burning Truth, they are on Spotify as well. I believe that's a wrap up for this
And
week.
I think that pretty much nails it.
Pretty much. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to this week's episode. I can also say it has been a absolute long episode, which is, if I'm not mistaken, we've actually been on almost 2 hours.
Yeah, we've nearly hit the heights of the WrestleMania week special, which is going some. But I think it's been worth it. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. And speak to you next week.
Yes, of course, as always, as my colleagues said, we'll speak to you next week. But as always, please, 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 stay well, stay safe. We'll hopefully catch you next week, be it a possible pre-recorded episode. Hopefully, I'll try to see if I can do a live one. If not, we do apologise, but we will try and get some form of content out for next week. But as always, please, 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 stay well, stay safe, and as always, check out your local wrestling. Until then, catch you laters.
Thank you and good night.
Catch you laters.